The House in Paris is a 1935 novel by the Anglo-Irish writer Elizabeth Bowen. Bowen was born in Dublin in 1899. She went to boarding school at Downe House in England, which still exists today, and eventually inherited the family estate in County Cork. She wrote several novels and 6 volumes of short stories, and at her death in 1973 was widely regarded as one of the 20th century's best English stylists. Since then, she's been comparatively neglected, but that has more to do with changing intellectual fashions than with the quality of her work. The House in Paris is in 3 parts. Part 1 describes the arrival of a 9-year-old boy and an 11-year-old girl at an old Parisian house that belongs to a dying Madame Fisher and her solicitor's daughter, Naomi. Both children are supposedly just passing through. Henrietta is on her way to stay with her grandmother in the south of France. Leopold is due to meet his mother, who gave him up for adoption at birth, and whom he hasn't seen since. There's a brooding sense of mystery about the whole situation, but especially about Leopold. Part 2 takes us back in time to solve the mystery of how Leopold came to be, and exactly who his mother is. But the mystery doesn't entirely dissipate. His conception partly hinges on a long-standing sexual infatuation, which began when Leopold's mother, Karen, went to stay at the house in Paris in her late teens. The reasons for the intensity of that passion remain relatively obscure, but everything in this novel seems tied in with the house. Part 3 brings us back to the present and describes what becomes of Leopold after the no-show of his mother in Part 1. The ending is satisfying, if a little deliberately ambiguous. If you ask most people today for a list of 20th century novel-writing modernists, you'll usually get James Joyce, Virginia Woolf, and William Faulkner, all poetic stream-of-consciousness authors. Because surely that's what modernism is, isn't it? Well, not necessarily. Modernism is writing that's affected by and is concordant with the major outcomes of modernity: alienation, introspection, a break with tradition and convention, the fragmentation of social mores. Bowen treats all of that, but as it were, from a hyper-realist perspective. She once said that she considered the novel a non-poetic statement of a poetic truth. What that means is that her writing is marked by a strong devotion to the importance of details. The interesting thing is that she manages to deliver that without her descriptions becoming overlong. There's a combination of piercing observation and stylistic economy, and although she does occasionally use stream of consciousness, it's so sparing that most 21st century readers won't even notice it. It's become conventional nowadays. As an illustration of Bowen's descriptive powers, I could probably have chosen an example from anywhere in the house in Paris. But here's Madame Fisher from the first part of the novel. Madame Fisher was not in herself a pretty old lady. Waxy skin strained over her temples, jaws and cheekbones. Grey hair fell in wisps round an unwomanly forehead. Her nostrils were wide and looked in the dusk skullish. Her mouth was graven round with ironic lines. Neither patience nor discontent, but a passionate unresignation was written across her features, tense with the expectation of more pain. She seemed to lie as she lay, less in weakness than in unwilling credulity, as though the successive disasters that make illness had convinced her slowly by repetition. She lay, still only a little beyond surprise at this end to her, webbed down, frustrated, or still more, like someone cast still alive as an effigy for their own tomb. Her illness seemed to be one prolonged mistake. Herself looked, wildly smiling, out of her body. What was happening in here was too terrible to acknowledge. She had to travesty it and laugh it off. Unserene, she desperately kept her head. Today, most books with Paris in the title tend to give prominent place to the Eiffel Tower, and usually feature it on the cover. As far as I can tell, the term Eiffel Tower occurs only once in this novel, and then only in passing. When 11-year-old Henrietta is asked what she would like to see in Paris, Top of our list is the Trocadero, and then perhaps Napoleon's tomb. Anyway, this is a very intense novel and deeply serious. When present-day readers pick up Mrs. Dalloway or Ulysses, it's always partly for the writing. But you won't find writing anywhere that's very much better than this.